Oh God! Now that I need something, now that I actually need to have a prop, I can't find it. It's probably somewhere in my house, stalking me still. If you don't know what I'm talking about my copy of The Omen, which followed me through yesterday's episode, just as a sort of a coming attraction to this, my review of the brand new The First Omen. If you've been watching the show for a while, you know how I do things. I like to watch things and warn you about them, or I like to commend them, but I don't talk too much about them. There will be no spoilers here, okay? And any imagery that I am going to use over here and pop up is stuff that is quickly and easily Googleable by anybody in the world. So I will not be talking about this show scene by scene. I will not be talking about it in terms of all of its inner workings. I feel like that's giving away the art. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you whether or not I think that this is a decent movie, and I'm going to tell you why. Okay? In the 1970s, folks, there began a sort of arms race between a few different authors, a few different film companies, over who could bring the devil to the people. You had in the very early 70s, you had Linda Blair and The Exorcist, and then also contending with that was a film series which began with Gregory Peck called The Omen. Okay, these film franchises went on to build a trilogy in logical amounts of time, meaning somewhere in the vicinity of about 10 years. All three films were done in a row. And they were scary stuff. The Exorcist series went into a few stupid areas, it did. But by and large, those were the two big ones. If you were American, growing up, you know, there were lots and lots of great films coming out of Italy and stuff like that, but I'm not here to talk about those right now, okay? So I'm going to shy away from that and just say that these were the two main film franchises which were battling for your dollars to scare you in the cinema. Honorable mention always goes, of course, to Amityville Horror, and in the 80s you had the Poltergeist series, but what I'm talking about right here is actually, you know, bringing the devil to earth. So you had the Exorcist stuff, and then you had The Omen. The Omen went through 3 stages of the birth and the rise of the Antichrist. You have the original film series, which was truly scary, just like other films that were made in the 1970s. They utilized classical choral music and soundtracks, and they went above and beyond to make the whole experience of this horrific, okay? And they set a pace in terms of quality that just really didn't get matched ever again. Excuse me, don't smoke cigarettes. The next thing that I wanted to talk about was how these two film franchises sort of evolved. You had The Exorcist going, but then, you know, with The Omen, for me, it was the second film that came out was of a special sort because it was filmed about 40 minutes north of where I grew up. It was actually in a location that I was familiar with because my mom used to threaten to send me there all the time. was a military school, a boys' military school, where they filmed the second one. And so all of that was, sort of locally covered in our newspapers and stuff like that. We were very aware of the fact that the film was being made, and so when it came out, of course, I wanted to see it. It was filmed at the place that my mom threatened to send me all the time when I didn't do my homework and all the other good things that I was supposed to be doing. But again, that's another tale. Another tale of horror and loss. But I am not here to talk about my loss or the fact that I'm not wearing pants. But if you've been watching my show and you've seen some of my other reviews, I talk about the fact that when you get these great franchises made, whether it's The Exorcist or The Omen or Amityville Horror, which has got to be, I think, on its like 25th installment now because it's gone public rights or something. I don't know. But if you look on Tubi, there is an Amityville Bigfoot film. Bigfoot Amityville. I don't know which version, which goes first. But anyway, I'm here talking about the first Omen. And I was worried, of course, as I am whenever I see any of these films getting released, that it is what we call a placeholder. A placeholder film is something that they will take and either shoehorn the idea into it in order to maintain the rights to a franchise, or they will make a really cheap sort of throwaway film that sits in the franchise some way, so as to say, see, we still love the franchise that we spent money on and we're still willing to make stuff, so we don't have to give it up. There's a deal where if you hold on to the rights for too long to some things, the rights revert back to the original owners. So you got to keep it alive. Things like the Fantastic Four have been a victim of this, even. That sort of high level, sort of, seen by the people world around. And then there's other garbage like the Hellraiser series, which had a ton of direct-to-DVD garbage horror films sort of shoehorned in with appearances by Pinhead or other Cenobites, okay? They do this all the time, and so when I see a new film coming out that's in a series that I have basically lived, because if you think about it, I became sort of knowing of the horror genre by about 10 years old, so that makes it about 1976 or so, where I was actively trying to watch things on TV that I shouldn't, and I was trying to get older people to take me to see films in the theater that I would see advertised in magazines like Fangoria and Famous Monsters of Filmland and everything else like that, So these placeholder films are deeply upsetting to everybody who likes, but they can, every once in a while, come up with something like the last Hellraiser, which was on, I think it's still on Hulu, and I did a sort of a vlog, a review of that when it came out. There are films of that nature where you're expecting a placeholder film and, just biting your bottom lip, starting it, and then it turns out that it's actually really good. Not to spoil my review of Hellraiser or anything else. In this case, they're taking another old film series that, like I said, I have attachment to the second one personally because of where it was filmed. So if you do go back and watch The Omen 2, remember that's the school that my mom wanted to send me to many a time because I misbehaved a lot and I was a ginger. So it just seems natural to try to get rid of me. Anyway, the first Omen, let's talk about it, as the YouTube phrase du jour goes. It begins with a young girl who is about to take her vows as a Catholic nun, and she arrives in Rome to greetings of her friends and family that are all sort of in the church as well. She has an uncle who picks her up from the airport, and she is about to take her vows, what they call taking the veil, but she is going to finish up her studies in Rome, working for an orphanage which is run by a whole bunch of nuns. And there she meets a young girl whom may or may not be the doorway, if you will, for Satan to come through. In other words, she may be the mother of the Antichrist. And it's Margaret's continuing investigation, friendship of this young girl, during which you find out that there are, and I don't think I'm giving too much away, there are two different factions of the church. Okay, you've got the one side that's everybody knows, and then you've got another faction of the church which believes that if they do usher through the Antichrist, that folks will then come back to God and come back to the church. So they're both looking for the same thing, but they're going about them in dramatically different ways. And is this really happening at all? Okay. I'm going to say this. Excuse me. I'm going to say this. It takes a nice setup of an hour, and then by the second hour, things begin to happen. Now, there are many tips of the hat in this film toward the original three films. There are many allusions, if you will, both visually and audio-wise, to the Gregory Peck film, okay? And by the way, The Omen was remade in 2006 with Liev Schreiber, and I'm not talking about that version of it yet. I will. I want to talk about how that one sort of fits in with these. But the thing that impressed me about this film is that it never really felt like it took a very cheap shot, in order to get a fright, get a scare going. It utilized a lot of the same cinematic techniques which used to raise the hair on my arms back in the 1970s, and it still does. There are ways that you can use lighting and framing and etc. to just make a human being genuinely uncomfortable in their own clothes. And this film does it. You may or may not like the Easter eggs and tips of the hat, but this film is meant to feed directly into the Gregory Peck trilogy. Okay? So keep that in mind as well. This is not a reworking. This is not a retelling. You can hear my granddaughter, everybody, making a special appearance. this is meant to feed directly into the Gregory Peck trilogy. And again, I don't think that I'm ruining anything by saying that they do take direct association. This is the stuff that was supposedly happening prior to the Gregory Peck film. So I advise that you sit down and check it out. If you've got any kind of interest in this kind of thing at all, whether it's horror movies or, Satan coming to Earth. Wow, have I just set you in with some weird crowds, huh? But I don't do this unless it's absolutely worth it. This film is genuinely frightening. I think that this film has a lot to give to the franchise. And unlike films that were made for so many of its contemporaries, this one really does kind of bring it home and create a solid base again, whereby you're going to want to watch the Gregory Peck trilogy, and you're going to want to watch the Liev Schreiber remake of 2006. Okay? They've done a good thing here. They've done a good thing. I am once again surprised by one of the films that I really expected to be a placeholder. It did. Anyway, that's that. Mattress Man. That's that. Sit down and check it out. It's free on Hulu. They make you sit through a couple of commercials first, I think, or something like that, but it does just kind of play straight through. I really enjoyed it. I will be adding it to my library as soon as I can find a copy of it that is, cheap. Because that's how we do things here. We do them cheap. Anyway, folks, thank you very much for coming and checking out our movie review side of things. We do toy reviews, we do toy hunts, we do peg hunts for die-cast, we do all sorts of things here. So if you like what you see and or want to see more of the same, please leave a comment below, and also hit the subscribe button. Those two things are the best things you can do to help me get this channel to other folks who might enjoy it. Okay? Thank you very much, and I really appreciate those two things and your attention this whole time. Thanks for sticking around through my babble. I do advise that you check this out. That's it. I don't know how much more clear I can be about that, but sometimes I've been told that my movie reviews are kind of hard to follow. So anyway, go see it. Okay? All right. Take care, everybody, and I will see you again very, very soon here on Monkey Shine Lab. Bye.